Welcome to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, where we believe that in order to build life-changing businesses, you need passionate leadership, smart operations, and of course, powerful marketing. My name is Josh Coffey, and for the last 11 years, I've been helping e-commerce businesses generate hundreds of millions in sales with marketing frameworks. And we actually do this in a couple of ways. First way we do this is with free stuff. So just like this, we have a YouTube channel, we have a Facebook group. By the way, a little over 8,500 of us hanging out in there. You should go check it out, link in the description. We also do it with courses, like we have some $17 courses, we have some bigger courses, we have coaching, we do live events, which are a ton of fun. And the main way that we actually help is if you're an e-commerce business, we largely help with something that we call the Max Profits Mentorship. And it's built on something we call the freedom business model, where if you want to find freedom in your business, you need to have orders, you need to have profit, and you need to have leverage. And then we teach you 9 systems of how to get all 3 of those things, from the training to the templates to the coaching to access to our team to in-person intensives, all of that good stuff. So if you're an e-commerce business and you're doing more than $10,000 a month, I encourage you, click the link in the bio, check it out, see an overview of what it's like, grab a call with our team to see if it really makes sense for you. Now in this episode, I want to talk about 9 super expensive, costly mistakes that I see e-commerce businesses make every single day. And so hopefully you can avoid them and put a lot more profit in your pocket, more cash in the bank. And I actually ended up asking in our Max Profits Mentorship, I asked everybody else what they believe was a mistake, that if they could go back in time and tell themselves not to do that, what it would be. And so I'm going to give you 9 that I believe are the most costly, and then I'm going to give you some bonus ones at the end that I thought were just brilliant, that a lot of our clients shared, that just if you avoid these things, your life will just be much better. And you know, they say you get what you pay for, and you're paying nothing for this. So hopefully you get a lot more than what you're paying for here. So let's go in. 9 costly mistakes. First one is not pricing properly and having too little margin. I was recently doing a session with Shopify for some of their Build Black community. And I did the session, and at the end, we ended up having a Q&A, and a lady named Tracy raised her hand, and I called on her, and she said, I had showed them how to calculate some of their break-even return on ad spends and their key KPIs, key performance indicators. And she had told me that her cost of goods for her products were $6, but she was charging $9. And so she had about a 35% margin. And this is really important because I got to lovingly help Tracy, and I had asked her, I said, hey, Tracy, can I give you some advice? And she said, yeah. I said, charge more. You're worth way more than you're charging. Your products are better. Someone that's willing to pay 9 is willing to pay 12, or they're willing to pay 15. And this is important because when you advertise, if you only have, and she received it really well, and hopefully she went and did it. And this is important because when you advertise, you only have 35% margin. You're going to need about a 3 return on ad spend to break even. And if you have an agency, well, now it's 10 times worse than that. It's like way worse. You'd probably have to have like a 6 return on ad spend, if not more, just to break even on the ad spend. And while you might be able to get away with a low margin, like 30, 40%, when you're first starting and you're not running ads because you don't have any other expense going against it, maybe friends, family, people are buying from other organic farmers markets, things like that, or social, where you don't have costs, ad costs, or a physical dollar cost associated with it. If you want to build any business worthwhile, you're going to have to master advertising. And so that's going to be a new cost. And if you only have 35%, it's going to be really hard to make that work. And so we have 3 recommended margin ranges that if you're probably in one of these 3 categories, here's what we would recommend. Like if you're a one-off product, we call these margin-based products. So like you make all your margin on the front end and you don't have any lifetime value. If you're a one-off product like that, where it's like, hey, I got to make my money going in, we recommend that you have 70% or more margin. If you are a repeat purchase product, where like you sell candle, you sell soaps, like it's a replenishable thing, or people do buy more than just one time and then they're done, then we recommend you have at least 50%, because that would make your break-even return on ad spend around a 2, which is completely achievable. But if you're a subscription product that ships boxes, for example, usually the shipping cuts into the margin, but you have a high lifetime value. We call these LTV-based products. Have at least 40% margin. I mean, the more the better, but 40% is the minimum we would want to go. We're okay with lower in this case only because you have a higher lifetime value. So that's number 1, not pricing properly and having too little margin. Number 2 mistake that I see is not paying yourself. there's this idea that like, hey, when I start a new business, I'm not going to be profitable. They say most businesses aren't profitable for the first 3 to 5 years or, whatever the stats are. I think that is a bunch of baloney. And you should not have the expectation that you shouldn't be profitable. Because here's what I see happen. It's really interesting. Whether someone that I talk to is doing like $3,000 a month or $30,000 a month, or I talk to some clients who are doing $100,000 or $200,000 a month, that many of them have not paid themselves in years. Because they're like, well, I know the first 2 to 3 years is you don't make any profit. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't understand, because if you manage your finance right, if you have a plan for your incomes, for your expenses, then you should be paying yourself. You are the most valuable employee in the entire company. And if you go under, the whole company goes under. So it's very critical that you pay yourself. And I'm not going to get into frameworks of doing this, because I'm going to release a podcast on this around how we recommend that you do this, how you work in percentages so that you're always in check. But make a plan so that way you pay yourself. And if you're not budgeting for inventory and you're not allocating for ad spend, and you're over leveraging yourself on like hired labor, you're hiring too soon, that can really put a damper on you paying yourself. Now, I do recommend a framework for this, and I'd love to dive deep into it in another podcast, which I'll do. But I do recommend a book called Profit First. Profit First has changed our lives, many of our clients' lives. We recommend it to everybody when we start working with them. Read Profit First. It's about living your life in percentages. And when you do that, you have way more control and you feel more in control. So not paying yourself, costly mistake. Please pay yourself, or you're going to get 5 years in and you're going to be doing $100,000 a month, still not paying yourself. And that to me is not good business sense, and you're going to burn out. And if you go under, everyone goes under. The third mistake is giving up on meta ads. Now, I love meta ads. They're my favorite. I like eat, sleep, breathe them. I dream about them. I wake up thinking about new campaign ideas. I go to bed thinking about campaign ideas and all the challenges our clients have in their ad accounts. I love them. And it's always interesting to me when occasionally I'll talk to people that say, well, meta ads just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my products. It doesn't work for my industry. And I can just say, well, let's look at 3 of the largest players in your industry. Okay, great. And I can go to the ads manager or the ads library, and I can look it up and I can see all the ads that they're running and say, well, they made it work and they're doing like $50 million a year. So if they're doing $50 million a year and you're barely doing $50,000 a month, then clearly meta ads works. You just haven't figured it out yet. And so something we believe is that meta ads is not a matter of if it works. It's a matter of when it works and how that looks for you. And your job as an entrepreneur is to figure that out. You have to bridge the gap between when that happens and what it looks like for you. And so you want to get to the when as quickly as possible. And the only way you do that is by good frameworks, by testing, and by just simply doing the work. The first is the worst. The first campaign you write is the worst campaign. The first creatives you make are the worst creatives. The first headlines you write are the worst headlines you write, because you have no idea. You don't know your targeting. You don't know campaign structures. It's a whole new world, right? And so giving up on meta ads that generally produce 50 to 60% of most e-commerce businesses today is what I would call foolish. Figure it out. Everything is figure outable, and ads are one of those. You just don't have the skills. You just got to get your skills up, because once you do that, you're going to unlock it, and it's going to remove acquisition as a bottleneck inside your business, which, let me tell you, is such a good feeling. Because most businesses, they bottleneck in 3 areas: acquisition, production or inventory, and then fulfillment. That's it. And most bottleneck at acquisition. And the ones that bottleneck there haven't figured out advertising. Because if you have figured out advertising and I put this much in and I get this many orders, then marketing, acquisition is no longer a bottleneck. And you just have to say, how do I then open up the bottleneck of production, inventory, and fulfillment and keep that flowing so that way I can keep growing. So that's number 3, giving up on meta ads. Number 4, costly mistake, is skimping on apps to save money. I hate subscription software as much as the next guy. On our profit and loss statement every month, like, I have thousands of dollars in dues and subscriptions. And I hate dues and subscriptions because they're recurring, and half the stuff you buy scales, like it's tiered, or it scales based on the volume that you do, or based on your revenue. And I'm like, I never understand, like, why the heck does Triple Whale charge me more just because I make more money? Like, it's not like it's actually costing them really that much more, if at all, more at all. So I hate it as much as the next guy. And so what we do is we trim them quarterly. We keep a pulse on things we use and we don't use. But the idea of skipping out on them, skimping on them and saying, you know what, I'm going to do this free, or I'm just going to use what the stock theme has, is going to cost you a lot more money than if you just buy or add the $5 app. Like there's an app we love. It's called Monster Cart, and there's a link in the description if you want to go check it out. And Monster Cart starts at like $13 a month for the first 50 orders. But here's what's interesting. Those first 50 orders, and it scales, it scales, but it's pretty stinking small. And as it scales, guess what? Most average order value that we see of people who install Monster Cart that have a good cart drawer that shows the free shipping threshold that will allow them to get a free gift when they spend a certain amount, or you can add additional discounts when they spend higher amounts and show other products, and it'll upsell them and allow them to add like rush processing or like a warranty and check boxes like that. We see average order values go up 20 to 30%. So from usually the first order that we get in, it pays for Monster Cart, or by the second order, we've paid for Monster Cart for the whole month. And so I would look at apps and say, does this produce more profit for me? And if it does, it's worth keeping. If it's just like a nice to have and you don't see it have any tangible effect on your bottom line, on your profit, then those are the things that you can consider killing. So that's number 4, skimping on apps just to save money. You'll actually make more money than the apps cost you if you have the right apps. Number 5, costly mistake, not clarifying your free shipping threshold. We had a client that we worked with, and they had a $150 free shipping threshold. They had a little bit more expensive priced products. Like they were kind of medium tier products. And so they had a $150 free shipping threshold. And I remember, and we always like to clarify the free shipping threshold. When I say that, we like to clarify it in the announcement banner at the very top of the website so that everybody sees it all the time and they know how much they need to hit. We also like to clarify it inside the cart. So if the cart drawer slides out, we like to say how far away they are from free shipping, because then people will just go add what they need to get it, because Amazon has standardized free shipping. Everybody expects it. So you should offer it. And in doing so, you should really clarify it. So we know this, and I remember there was this one Friday afternoon. The web dev team went in and they removed the banner of free shipping. They actually put in instead of the free shipping banner, they added another thing in the banner. It didn't clarify the free shipping threshold. It was like, hey, we're doing a sale. This was the sale. It was like a sale they were doing that weekend. And they put it in there, and suddenly their purchases plummeted. People stopped placing orders and they couldn't figure it out. Now, I had no idea. This was like Friday afternoon. Their web dev team went on Friday afternoon, and then their average order values plummeted. Everybody was getting to checkout and everybody was dropping off. And then on Monday, I opened up my inbox to like a huge chain thread of like emails of like, what's going on? And they couldn't figure it out. And so it took me like 30 seconds. I just popped to the website. I'm like, who changed the banner? And the team was like, oh, we changed it to 4 p.m. on Friday. And I'm like, well, usually when you don't clarify free shipping, here's what happens. People add $120 to their cart. They go all the way through the process. They enter their information. They think everyone assumes they're getting free shipping. So if you don't clarify it, they're going to assume they get it. They get all the way to the checkout, and then they realize, wait a second, I have to pay like $28 for shipping this. Screw that, and then they bail. But when you clarify it, they're like, oh, I just have to spend I'm at $125. I just have to spend $25 more to get free shipping. So they go do it. So we realized this on Monday. And I said, just switch it back and see what happens. They switched it back. Boom. Sales were like right back on pace. Average order values popped right back up to like 170, 180, and everything was good. So we see this all the time. Make sure that you're clarifying your free shipping threshold. It is low-hanging fruit. It's going to increase your conversion as well. Number 6 costly mistake is not sending emails or not sending enough emails. Email should generally account for 20 to 30% of your revenue. That's what we typically see. And another way we put it is like, you can usually produce, as long as you're cleaning your list and you have good list hygiene is what they call it, and you're sending emails consistently, you can generally produce 50 cents to $1 per subscriber on your list. And here's the reality. You can send more emails than you're probably sending now. We work with clients to send an email a day. You might be subscribed, sometimes 2 or 3 a day, depending on the time of year. And you might be subscribed to some brands that you really like that send 1 to 2 or 3 emails per day, 365 days per year. And so what's interesting is we teach our clients, begin with a weekly email, and then after that, go to 2 per week, and then slowly work toward that point that you're eventually doing daily, so long as you can maintain 50 cents to $1 per subscriber. And if you can, then you continue to add more because it means it's profitable for you. If your revenue per subscriber starts to drop below 50 cents, then it means you're sending too much. So then we'll kind of pull back. And the interesting thing about this is it's just mathematical. Like, so think about this. The average email open rate is 25 to 30%. Like, that's the average. I like to say 25% more conservatively. Some are worse, some are better, but 25% is typically the average. And so if it's 25%, let's say you send one email per week. Mathematically, people will open one email per month from you. What if you sent 4 per week? Well, they'll mathematically open one email per week. And this is including the people that are way disengaged and like a lot more disengaged and the people that are a lot more engaged. And so the math shows us that most people don't open emails. So if we send more volume, mathematically, you should be able to increase revenue by doing that. And another really interesting thing that we've seen is that the more emails you send, the more right you earn to send more emails and the more people buy. So it's kind of strange. Like if you very rarely send emails, like let's say you send emails when you remember. It's like, oh, there's a promo, so I send an email. Oh, there's a new product, so I send an email. But you're not in a cadence of sending them regular emails. Well, then every time you send that email, you're probably going to get like mass unsubscribes, marks as spam. They're not used to getting emails from you. But when you go to sending a weekly email, they get in that cadence. And then when you go to 2 weekly emails, they get in that cadence and you get in that cadence and then they're used to that cadence. And then they get used to your stuff coming to them for them to buy your stuff. And so not sending emails or not sending enough emails is very, very expensive. It costs you a lot to not do that. And emails scale, whether you're sending to 100 people, 1,000 or 100,000, it's the same amount of time to send one email. So it's highly leveraged. That's number 6. Number 7 costly mistake is poor customer experience. Like if your customer experience sucks, you're just going to churn people. And even if you're not a subscription-based product, churn is still a real thing. Somebody deciding never to buy from you again is churn, whether you find out or not. For the most part, if you're selling like just general products that aren't a subscription-based product, you'll never know. They'll just never buy from you again, and you won't know why. But if it's a great experience, they're going to buy a lot more from you, and they're going to refer you to other people. And so we like to ask the questions like, what happens after somebody buys? What emails do they get? What text do they get? How does your product packaging look? Do you include inserts in your packaging, in your shipments? What is your product quality like? Is it great? Or is it, if you're being real honest with yourself, is it kind of bad? You know, is the supplier you're getting your stuff from sending shoddy products that really aren't that great? That really matters. And sometimes you got to be real and say, this product kind of sucks, or the quality of what I have sucks. Like, it's my baby. It's an ugly baby, but it's my baby, and so I got to treat it like it is, right? And just call a spade a spade. And if that's the case, I'm not saying to go get a new baby. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but if your product isn't great, they're never going to come back and buy again. And we had an intensive with all of our mentorship clients a little while ago. And during the intensive, I did this breakout session for like 15 minutes, and I called it the No Marketing Allowed game. And the premise was, as a table, as a little group, we had them grouped into 5 or 6. I said, this is the No Marketing Allowed game. So what that means is, if you could never run another ad, send another email, do any more marketing ever again, and the only way that you could get new customers was by getting your existing customers to buy again, or your existing customers to refer new customers, what would you do differently? And it was insane to see the things that people would do. Like, it was just all over the place. And one that stuck out to me that I loved is one of the guys, he would send a personalized video using an app called Bonjoro. He would send a personalized video, well, 2 of them in the room did, to every single customer that bought from him. And I'm like, wow, that's not scalable. It takes a lot of time. But they did it. And they systematized the process of doing that. They created a great customer experience, and people were blown away by it. And not surprisingly, those 2 guys had some of the largest, nobody knew this, but I did because I know all our clients' revenues. And those 2 guys in the room of about 40 people had some of the largest revenue, and they were growing faster than anybody else in the whole room. Interesting. Customer experience was fantastic. They did really unique things. Their packaging was good. All their stuff was really on point. So costly mistake is having a poor customer experience, because you're just going to churn and burn people, and you're going to get someone and they're just going to leave out the back door. We want to get them and say, what would have to prove true for them to never, ever leave and only ever buy from me again? That's number 7. Number 8 costly mistake is not prioritizing product reviews. So like reviews, they're just gold. It's low-hanging fruit. It's not hard to do. They improve conversions, it also gives you a feedback loop on your customers. And if you use an app like Judge.me or Stamp.io or Loox, Loox, those are three of our go-to tools, it makes the process pretty easy. When someone buys a product, there's like emails that it'll send them and it'll get them to leave the review. And if you have a good review process, you're gonna get about 10 to 15% of people to do it. And when you get those, we see a big lift in conversion when you start to get more reviews. If you have no reviews, your conversion is going to hurt, your ad performance is gonna hurt. If you have 1,417 5-star or 4.9-star reviews on a product that you're driving traffic to, your conversion rate is gonna just skyrocket. And so not prioritizing product reviews is a big mistake, huge mistake. And number 9 cost mistake is having too few product photos. Like conversion plummets when your product photography is too small or it just sucks overall. And what I would do is I would ask myself, what does my ideal customer want to see? Like a bad product page is gonna have 1 or 2 images of a mock-up that's not an actual photo, like it's just a mock-up. A good product page is gonna have mock-ups, and then it's gonna have a few lifestyle photos. And a great product page is gonna have some mock-ups, it's gonna have some lifestyle photos, it might have some videos showing how it works or in action, and then it's gonna maybe have some sizing or colors or ingredients, like showing the label in the product, inside the carousel above the fold with in-action photos or videos further down on the product page, where like you might stagger like a headline with some text and then you have an image there, and then another headline and some text and an image or a video there showing the product in action or how it works to further build the value of your brand. And so having 2 product photos is gonna hurt your conversion, and it's just overall gonna like decrease the brand equity in the mind of people that are actually viewing it. So please invest in yourself. And if you wanna know where do you start, just start with your most purchased products. Start with your best sellers, the ones that people are really buying the most or where you're driving traffic. That is a great place to begin. So those are my 9 costly mistakes. But like I said at the beginning, I actually asked our clients, I said, hey, what do you guys, if you can go back in time, what would you do? And I got 7. Well, I got a lot of them, but I boiled it down to 7. And I'm just gonna rattle these off to you because I think these are really, really good. So these are bonus costly mistakes. The first one is wholesale might seem like low-hanging fruit, but it is actually a time and money suck. And I can't tell you that this was the number 1 most seconded that everybody agreed to. And there's a lot of feedback on that. So wholesale might seem like low-hanging fruit, but is actually a time and money suck. The second one is don't order too much inventory too soon. You know, being a little bit ambitious and saying, hey, I'm gonna sell all of these white mugs. Everybody's gonna buy it. Like I have a white mug on the table if you're listening to audio. This is the best mug. I'm gonna go buy 10,000 of these. Maybe don't buy 10,000, right? So don't order too much inventory too soon. The third one was do not think you're the only person who can make your product. As soon as you have proof of viability, start down the path to having your product made by someone other than you. And this is really great. As soon as you can get to a point of having someone manufacture for you, your life is going to be way easier. We work with clients right now that like they were doing all DIY, like making it all themselves, but then you get to a point where production becomes the bottleneck and you can't grow over $20,000 or $30,000 a month. And then they go in, they find a manufacturer, which takes a couple months, takes time to go through the process. They get that down, and then suddenly they could do 2, 3, 4x volume, and all they have to do is ship stuff out, and it's really easy. Number 4 is don't let customers convince you that you should make this product and that product. Sometimes don't let the minority become the majority, and make you go on a wild goose chase just because somebody said, oh, you should do this. And there's like 3 people that said it. Number 5 is don't get distracted, speaking of, by shiny objects like other random products you want to bring in, and focus on being consistent with what you're good at. Number 6 was good content is a wellspring of your brand, and a founder really needs to master it before delegating it. This was in a conversation largely around like the idea of outsourcing a lot of your copywriting and a lot of your social media in particular. Is like you as the founder have the best grasp on your brand. Don't outsource that too soon. And number 7, I saved the best for last, and this was seconded by a lot of people, and many posted the same thing, and that is not every course or program is needed or worth your time and money. I wish I found the E-commerce Alley and the Max Profits Mentorship before paying for other programs. All right, so I figured I would leave you with the last costly mistake. You know, if you have wasted your time on other stuff, you got to check out our stuff, guys. It's pretty good. I'm a little bit biased, entirely biased, if we're being real. But there's some links in the description if you want to check out one of our $17 like scientific Facebook ads testing courses. Check that out. It's going to show you our testing frameworks. And then if you're over 10,000 a month and you want to learn how we help brands, maybe like you, leverage our freedom model and 9 systems to really create profit and create sustainability and scalability in your business, then definitely check that out. The question I have for you is, what would you add to this list? What are mistakes that you've made in your business that you're like, I wish I didn't make this mistake? If I could go back in time, I would tell like 5 years ago, Josh, you're an idiot if you do this. What would that be? Please drop a comment if you're watching on YouTube, and you can also drop a comment if you're listening on Spotify. If you want to keep getting more stuff like this, I encourage you to join our free Facebook group in the description, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast.